Hey everyone, John here. 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 Welcome to the Leaders Leading Leaders podcast. The second thing that I wanted to talk about, and as I was journaling this morning, one thing that I think is very important, and my dad was very rigid. He was set on a schedule. Things were planned out. I can remember going on long trips, and we used to drive we had a 1987 Chevy Astro van, and we would pile in this van, and it would normally be in the middle of the night because there was less traffic in the middle of the night. And we would drive this thing all over the United States, in the back folded down, and we'd get in there. They'd shove us in there. They'd pack everything up, to the brim. We even had one of those car carriers that we strapped to the top of this Chevy Astro van, and we would set out in the middle of the night. And my dad, we would go to AAA at that time. This was before cell phones, okay? So I'm aging myself here. But we would get these triptychs. And these triptychs were like routes to wherever you were going, your destination. And they probably had about 75 to 100 miles on each little folder. Think of it like as a pad of paper, and then you'd open it up and it'd have the destinations, but it'd have the exits and the eateries, where to eat, where to lodge, the KIAs, or not KIA. Yeah, they were, whatever they were. They were places where you could go and camp, right? Campgrounds. I think they were KIAs. Might have to get back to you on that. But anyways, you see where I'm going here, right? He was planner. My mom, she really was just go with the flow. Sometimes she had a plan, sometimes she didn't have a plan. So I had both sides to observe and to learn from. And this really helped me see and observe what flexibility looks like. And they both fed off each other pretty well. And when my mom and dad divorced at a very young age, guess what? I got to see both sides, right? Independently. And it was a rather good situation. We'll talk a little bit about in the next one, the resiliency piece that I learned from both of them. But for the most part, it was their ability to create these flexible routines. And it's nice to have structure. Don't get me wrong. Bedtimes, things like that. Certain times of the day, certain times you eat lunch. My wife used to run a home daycare for many, many years, and she was all about school in the morning snack, nap time, or, lunch and then nap time, and then, afternoon snack, and then it was pickup time or pickup at the school time, right? It was very regimented. But there was also flexibility in there, because what if you had a kiddo that got sick? What if there was a emergency situation? What if, but all the what ifs. So you had to remain flexible in there. So don't get me wrong. I understand that there's a need for structure. But to show your children, to show your family, to show your team that you can be flexible, especially when a challenge comes about, that's going to go a long way, especially when they are starting to experience challenges. They can flex a little bit. They don't have to be so rigid, okay? So a couple things that I have seen, I've implemented in my family, when they were younger, and then as I was journaling this morning, I was thinking back with my grandparents, and we would go on these camping trips. Again, my grandmother pack everything. My grandfather, we had one of those over-the-top campers that was in back of his Ford truck. It was a single cab Ford truck. And the over-the-top campers, we'd load it on there, and we'd get in the back and we'd ride in the back of the camper. It's another experience, another story for another time. But I can remember that, we get up early in the morning. We did a lot of driving back then. It was one of probably my fondest memories, because we would play games. I see this, or I see this green thing, and then we'd have to guess. All the games that now we just do on our cell phones. So anyways, now I'm really dating myself. But one of the most important things as far as creating a flexible routine is to create these anchor points rather than set schedules. So for us, we knew the destination. We knew we were going to the beach. We knew we were going back to Colorado. We knew we were driving out to the East Coast, right? That was the anchor point. But some days we'd drive 5 hours and we'd stop and we would explore. We never drove the exact same way. Dad was always about, he still to this day drives different ways. Why? because it adds that flexibility in there. He learned a lot of flexibility as he got older, as do we all, right? I mean, we get more flexible. We're rigid and then we get more flexible, but it was just this experience. So set the anchor point, the destination, but then be flexible on how you can get there, where you stop, the route you take. Same thing with addressing problems. If the same recurring problems come up, guess what? Add some flexibility in there. Dinner time. Don't set a certain time. We got to eat at 7 p.m. Just call it dinner time. You never know when dinner time is going to be. For us, we were busy. We always had practices, but we sat down together during dinner time. That always wasn't at 7 p.m., but it was at dinner time. So set that anchor point and have a little bit of flexibility in there. Other things, have backup plans for routines. So I mentioned my wife at the daycare. She would always have a backup plan if, somebody didn't have to go to school that day or school was canceled or there was a day off. What are you going to do then? You didn't have that morning run. So there was flexibility there in the morning routine and the afternoon routine. Maybe you go to the park. Maybe you go on a field trip on a day, right? You got to add that flexibility in there. So have backup plans for morning routines. If life throws a wrench at you, guess what? Have a backup plan. Again, it teaches others to have flexibility. When things don't go our way, what are we going to do? We're going to move to plan B. Got it? One of the other things that I really like is, teach your kids to be curious. And this is something with my granddaughter, right? Teach them how to adjust by letting them make small choices. She's a year and a half old, and my daughter-in-law does an absolute fabulous job with her, but she lets her pick out her clothes. The other day, we went and picked her up. It was, 30 degrees outside, and she had picked out one of her favorite shirts. It was a t-shirt, right? So those are just ways, even at a very young age, allow them to make choices. Maybe allow them to pick dinner one night, right? Or maybe allow them to pick where you go eat. Just those small little choices teaches them, 1, to make a decision. 2, they got skin in the game. They own their decision, right? So if you go and it wasn't exactly how you thought it was going to turn out, back to the failure piece. And then you just say, hey, guess what? We learned something. It's okay. We made a decision. That was the most important thing. But those small choices are, again, going to encourage them when it comes to having some flexibility in there, because it may not go the way that they even thought it would go. And then we just teach them how to be flexible there. So the takeaway here is flexibility really helps reduce the stress, especially when things don't go their way, and it helps them learn how to adapt when they are feeling out of control. When life is feeling out of control, what happens? We begin to spiral. We begin to thought stack. Everything's going wrong. We're late to work because of the traffic. We hit all the red lights. The person in front of me was constantly stopping and going, right? Pumping on their brakes. Again, when things don't go our way, we got to be a little bit flexible. Okay, so we are exhibiting those things. We are having and displaying those behaviors to others because they are watching how you are reacting when things don't quite go the way it's supposed to go. So have a little flexibility. And I want to take a quick break from our discussion today to mention a couple things. First of all, thank you for listening. Only 50% of our listeners are subscribed to our channel. Do me a favor, click on that subscribe button. It's going to allow our channel to continue to grow and give you updates whenever we get new episodes published. The second thing is our coaching program. People who want to work with me are looking to make a lasting change, level up, or get unstuck. I gave up on my dreams. I was a young parent, had to make a couple career changes. I went through some financial hardships. I had to learn how to flip my mindset and stay consistent. Our coaching programs are individualized one-on-one sessions where I will teach you a proven system and guarantee that you can reinvent yourself over and over again. If that sounds like something that interests you, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com and sign up to get more information. Now back to the show. The last thing here is modeling what I call emotional resilience. And again, last season was all about emotional resilience, so I'm not going to necessarily talk about resilience. But here, how you handle stress is going to teach our kids how to respond to stress. And this is why. One of the ways that I've learned, and again, I always didn't have, and I'm still learning to control my emotions. But when I do have emotions, I'm a human being, I'm not a robot. When I do have emotions, it's important to speak them out loud, to talk about them. And here's an example. I'm really stressed today, and I'm going to take a deep breath. And then take your deep breath or go for a walk. I had a really bad day at work today, so I'm going to go for a walk. You see where this is going? When stress occurs, it shows others that you're going to neutralize that stress by going for a walk, by taking a deep breath. It shows you're human by you have emotions. You just don't pack them down inside and not show anything. We're not robots. So 1, you're human. 2, how you deal with your humanality. Makes sense? This is probably one of the most important things as a parent that I've learned, and I'm still learning. Trust me, with my 16-year-old, have a lot of good talks on the way to school in the morning, just about having a great day. When his grades aren't going well or he has a big game that day, I'm proud of him. You know, it's okay to be stressed. Take a deep breath. Rely on your team. You know, have a routine. Whatever that looks like. Coach them through that process. It's going to go a long way. One of the other things is, teach them problem solve. When plan A doesn't work, boom, here's plan B. If that doesn't work, plan C. That emotional resilience teaches them to push through challenges, push through life's obstacles, push through when things just aren't quite going their way. Plan B, plan C, and we continue trying. It shows them we just don't give up. We throw our hands up in the air and go sit on the couch, right? We don't throw our hands up in the air and go in our room and shut the door. We acknowledge our emotions and we just move on to the next plan. Emotional resilience, big part in making sure they understand how to problem solve. They're not doing well in class, put it back on them. You need to go speak with your teacher. You need to figure out how to bring up this grade. Put it back in their lap or ask the question, what's your plan? What's your plan to get your grade from a C to a B? Have them think through that problem-solving technique. It's going to build that emotional resilience so when they do get in a challenge in real life, they're past the deadline with their boss. Guess what? Maybe out of their control, but what are they going to do? What's the plan? Are they just going to throw their hands up and start blaming the team? Probably not a good idea. How are they going to get the product done, get it across the finish line within a relatively short time after that deadline? The other thing here is normalizing mistakes. Going back to failure. How you talk about it, how you treat it, how you attack it. Now, there are some people out there that they're going to tell you failure is not an option. And I used to say that. I used to push through and I used to be very hard-headed around how I saw failure, but I've changed my mindset around failure. I've normalized it. I've talked about it. You hear me talking about it. It's one way that I've changed. My failures have made me the person who I am today. Those are the ones that we remember. The successes, they're great. For the most part, it's our challenges, it's our experiences, it's our failures in life that have created the persons that we are today. So normalizing those mistakes, talking about them, teaching others how to talk about them is a big win when we talk about creating emotional resilience, especially for your family and for your teams. So we've talked about a lot. And one of the things that I want you to take away from our conversation here is this isn't a one-size-fits-all. You know your family best. You know your team best. So I want to challenge you. Take one thing that we talked about today and implement it. So get out your pen because I'm going to go back through them. First thing we talked about was foster a growth mindset. Here, we're going to see challenges as opportunities. So that yet methodology, I haven't done it yet. I can't do that yet. Builds that growth mindset. Share stories. Share stories of our family, where they've come from, the obstacles that they've overcome, and then reframe those failures as learning moments. The next thing we talked about was creating flexible routines. So here, anchor points. Remember, have that destination, change up how you're going to get there. Teaches them how to remain flexible, how to think outside the box, and to make sure if they get stuck here, guess what? We're just going to pivot and we're going to go this way. The other piece, have a backup plan. Make sure you have those backup plans, especially for key routines. We get in routines, and when something goes wrong, when that detour pops up, gets us really anxious. But if we have the backup plan already, we're just sliding right by, going down the road, turning to left instead of turning to right, and now we're back en route. And then teach your children how to adjust. Give them small choices. Put them a little skin in the game. Lets them have the ability to maybe make a bad decision and then learn from that bad decision. The last thing that we talked about is this emotional resilience, and we've spent a lot of time on emotional resilience. So talk through your emotions. Talk out loud. I feel frustrated today, so I'm just going to journal down the things that I can control and the things that I can't control. Even if you already do that, let them hear you say you're going to do it, and then let them see you actually do it. It's going to go a long way for modeling that behavior. Teach problem solving. Let them problem solve. Don't go and fix it for them, because then they're going to expect somebody to always be there to fix it. And then normalize making mistakes and moving forward. I really hope that you found this content valuable today. This is something that, again, I'm a big family person. I've observed families. I try to create family environments that feel of a family within my teams, within my organizations, within my businesses. It's working for me, and I'm going to continue to do it, because people who feel like they belong to something are going to work harder, are going to show up, and they're just going to be happier, and you're not going to have as much turnover. You're going to have more retention. They're going to go recruit for you to bring people into the organization. So adaptability is about the powerful difference between adapting to cope and adapting to win. Think about that next time when you are creating a culture of adaptability. It's going to go a long way with leaving a legacy that you want to leave for your family and friends. I believe in you. Go be great. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye. If you like what you're hearing, do us a favor. Click on that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up or leave a comment. That lets us know that what we are putting out benefits you. If you want additional information or resources or learn how to work with me, head on over to thejohnespinosa.com, because when we become better versions of ourselves, it helps us get others to where they're going. Go be great. Talk to everyone later.